a lot of people have probably seen in the news that the Biden administration is allegedly talking to business leaders in the United States about a vaccine passport. And what that would be, for people who are hearing this for the first time, is that you would basically be required to get vaccinated, and then you would have some type of certificate or digital, affirmation that you've been vaccinated. And then businesses, but also think airlines, lots of different travel. Um, they would be able to see whether or not you've been vaccinated, and then they would allow you into their businesses. They would allow you onto their airplanes. They would allow you to travel. They would do business with you if you had one of these vaccine passports. And obviously, we're against that. Obviously, here at the show, we're very strongly against that. And there's lots of reasons, philosophically, morally, ethically, principally, to be against that. And other people have already talked about those at great length. But what I really want to focus on is people like us, people who fall outside of the political mainstream, if you will. We we maybe specifically above many are people who have to find their line in the sand. You have to, everyone's can be different. Many different people that all have very similar views may have different lines in the sand. And and I understand people who are willing to go a lot further out than say I am, and because they're thinking about their self-preservation, they're thinking about their family, they're thinking about their kids, they're thinking about, well, I'm just going to go along to get along because I don't want to put myself or my loved ones at risk. Which, by the way, that really, even that explanation in of itself really says something about the state, in that the state only knows one thing, and that's coercion and escalation. They don't suffer opposition. But again, that being neither here nor there, we all have our different lines in the sand, and it kind of lends itself to a concept I've been playing around with, and something that I'm writing that I hope you guys will get to see here pretty soon. And it's the basis of it is what you can live with versus what you can't live without. And so you start with, what can you live with? Can you live with the nation in which you live? I'm trying not to use terminology like our country, all that we the people BS, because it's not. But can you live with the nation that represents you, being the largest, most expansive government in world history? Can you live with an American empire that breeds untold amounts of death and destruction to people around the world? Um, can you live with the war on drugs and everything that entails, and the problems with the criminal justice system? Can you live with gangs and violence that are largely a product of prohibition? Can you live, and also, by the way, tying that into borders, same difference. Can you live with um, federal overreach on and regulation on every single product and service one can imagine, and licensing, and who really owns what? Do you really own your home if you pay property taxes? Can you live with that? And obviously, a lot of those things for most people, the answer is yeah, I can, because I feel like attempting the alternative, is worse than just getting along. And so that's a question we all have to ask, is what can you live with? But, on the other side of that token is what you can't live without. And so talking, kind of turning this in more of a positive direction of, I can't live without this community, all these wonderful people who join me each week and hang out, and people who come down once a year to hang out with me in person. I can't live without my fiance, and seeing her happy, and it frustrates me when she's not happy because of lockdowns and mandates and us not being able to live the life we would like to live. Certainly not happy with the associated lockdowns and mandates that closed our business for a big chunk of last year and hurt us financially, incredibly so. So I can't live without that. I can't live without being able to seek my own good fortune and do the best that I can without having my fate determined for me by people who feel like they have a greater claim to me and mine than I do. Um, but I can't live with those things. I can't live with with my friends and my family and, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness and all those wonderful things. And so that brings us around full circle to this vaccine passport thing. And I can't live with that. That if you are someone who hadn't reached your point yet, where you had drawn a line in the sand, I implore you to make it this. If there was ever a time for people who largely share similar views, but have some nuance and difference of opinion, and sometimes we allow a few differences of opinion to split and fracture what would otherwise be a healthy community into smaller subsects. This is a great one for all of those different groups to come together on. This should, if you haven't already drawn it, this should be your line in the sand. Now, we're going to have Michael Boldin of the 10th Amendment Center on later in the show, and this isn't really the main focus of the program, but obviously, they over there at TAC, they talk a lot about working at the state level, fighting against federal overreach. And I know that some people will say, oh, well, you look at Governor DeSantis in Florida, he's already said, no, we're not going to have vaccine passports, and that's great. If there's anything you can do at a local level, at a state level, to push back, now is the time. And because this, just as with everything with government, this will just be the latest encroachment in a long line of encroachments, and it will just be used to further exacerbate and spread their power and limit your liberties. So if there's anything you can do, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm going to ignore it. And I hope this doesn't mean that I'm in jail and or murdered soon, but I'm not going to get the vaccine. I'm a healthy person who doesn't need it. And I'm not going to carry around a passport with me that's going to tell a business owner I'm allowed to enter that property. If that's how they conduct their business, they won't get a penny from me. Whether you're a vote with your feet kind of person, whether you're an agorist, a voluntarist, if you're a true free marketeer, a capitalist, a libertarian, an anarchist, a conservative, whatever label you apply to yourself, I hope all of us can come together on this being our line in the sand.